Create a powerful scene that is authentic, that speaks from a person's heart. And when this happens, magic occurs. Because of what you will see are 4 actors or 6 actors or 8 actors on stage who do not know what's going to happen in the scene, but they progress through direction of the director to create a scene that hasn't been scripted. Now, for an audience viewing, it is quite entertaining to see actors given an exercise that they haven't rehearsed at all. But a lot of the time, it starts to pan out that it kind of shines a light on society issues. You start to find the answers through the exercises that we do in the workshop. And it comes through in quite a surprise to the attendees. They become a bit surprised as to what they discover about themselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Master Mo Podcast. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, probably this is the right time for you. Because what I'm going to reveal today is something very unique, a shout out to the community that I never been known before. One of the coolest things I have ever experienced. Today, my guest is Taryn. She's one of the elite IB consultant and she's been a phenomenal lawyer. She had an amazing career of more than 17 years, serving as IB consultant for one of the leading banks in Africa. Taryn has moved by her passion, and she's somehow thought leader, leading values, and also ensuring to keep herself in her toes in order to reach what she wants to do. However, with all of have been said, Taryn is someone who is really creative and someone who is really passionate and someone has a really interesting story to tell today. And one of the things that we want to shout out to the community here in Bahrain and overall in the international world. Taryn, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, Master Mo. It's wonderful to be here today.
Now, one of the reasons I love to start this podcast is giving the rationale for the viewers, for the benefit of the viewers. Why would they really watch and listen for an hour conversation? So tell them one of the reasons why Improv theater they should know about.
I think that understanding what Impro theater is, it's knowing what the basics of what we are as human beings. Improv theater is something that isn't scripted acting. It is improvisation. It is a person getting to know who they are by not knowing what to expect on the stage. And so if you think about theater, you think about those that are trained in the theater environment to be able to perform stage productions, familiar stories, and so. Improv theater is creating scenes with fellow actors on the stage, but there's no script. You need to dig deep. You need to find your emotional connection with your fellow actors, and you need to be able to deliver something that is the 6th or 7th or 8th sense on stage. It takes you on a journey of understanding what it is to feel familiar with yourself, to become almost receptive as you are learning, to create scenes together, to connect, to focus, to observe, and to become an actor, or, as I like to put it, to become a better version of yourself if you are not an actor. Taking improv workshops helps people develop their own sense about themselves, helps people to understand what it is about themselves that may be missing. There's an ingredient about them that maybe they need to fine-tune. These workshops bring this to the forefront through their experience.
Interesting. Now, for the benefit of the guests and for the viewers who are watching or listening to this podcast, tell us more about the history of Improv theater.
So our theater, the Impro Teatro, it was formerly known as Italia in 2019, brought into Bahrain. At that point, it was Arabic speaking, more lesson learning about what improvisation acting is. And in 2023, it was rebranded into Impro Teatro, where it was then offered in English and Arabic in terms of workshops. and then with the final outcome and purpose of being able to produce productions in Arabic and in English with actors that had joined us through workshops or through recommendations or through coming to us by hearing about us. The basis of Impro Teatro is that we are a theatre, but we are a theatre that's appealing to the community through our initiatives of giving workshops to the community as the basic level, our entry level. And those that come to our workshops don't necessarily stay with us to do productions or become actors, but they do go through a journey with us in a workshop of understanding who they are by doing certain exercises in the workshops to figure out where there could be areas of limitations within themselves. It could be a fear of speaking in public. It could be that they have got a desire to do something else in their lives, a career change and so. But the actual basis of our theatre is a gift to the community to better understand themselves. And then if there is talent and so, to join our theatre and become actors on stage in productions.
So let's assume that I'm a guy who listened to this for the first time, just like it's happened to me, by the way. I would like to share this if you don't mind. So my line of work is seeing candidates as an HR, and one of the things that I have noticed, one of the candidates once said, I am going tonight. We were talking, on generally don't talk with the candidate about what they were doing, but one way or another, that guy was like, interesting to call. It's like, tonight is the night and it's Tuesday night. And I'm like, so what happened on Tuesday night? Then he said, I'm going to the Improv theater. So I have no idea. Imagine that someone now right now listen or viewing this episode have no idea about improv. What is the things that drive me to come to theater and to identify myself, or what are the key elements that I will equip if I attend your courses?
So if you come into our production to come and watch what we do, what you will see are 4 actors or 6 actors or 8 actors on stage who do not know what's going to happen in the scene, but they progress through direction of the director. So it's an engagement between the actors and the audience and the director to create a scene that hasn't been scripted. Now, for an audience viewing, it is quite entertaining to see actors given an exercise that they haven't rehearsed at all. They are familiar with an exercise, but they don't know the content. So the audience would be seeing actors given an exercise but having to produce something in a scene that is fictional. But a lot of the time, it starts to pan out that it kind of shines a light on society issues. And we start to see that on stage in a humorous way. Attending a workshop, you will attend it in your form, in whatever capacity you are in at that moment. And you will start to see through the connection with the fellow workshop attendees that there may be aspects about your life or what you are doing or what you have chosen to do that there may be some questions about. You start to find the answers through the exercises that we do in the workshop. And it comes through in quite a surprise to the attendees. They become a bit surprised as to what they discover about themselves. But everyone's there for a purpose. And the ability to enter a workshop on the first day and not even be able to think that on the third day, you'll be walking out having done a scene, an acting scene, not being given a script, engaging emotion, having an understanding of the actors around you, bringing to form some issues from within or society issues. People walk out of the workshops, they are transformed. There's a transformation that takes place in the workshops. They come in, maybe not even knowing why they're coming in. They've heard about what this improv is. They've heard about improvisation acting or workshops. And they walk in, and I'm very clear on that. Sometimes people don't know why they're sitting there, but they are there. But by the time they walk out, they know. It could be for self-expression. It could be to work through some limiting belief that they have about themselves. It could be that they needed a better connection with strangers that they've met for the first time in a workshop. It could be that they've been thinking to do something, but something has been stopping them. Whatever the question is to themselves, it is personal. But that answer is discovered on the personal journey in the workshop over the 3 days with fun, a lot of engagements are fun. Because in theater's about, it's fun, it's fictional, but there's a lot of truth while we're having fun too.
I see how you're coming. So, through your understanding to the improv theater, and what are the capabilities or the key competencies that, as a person, I will develop through? Even like, I like the way you mentioned, because you mentioned it's not necessarily for the people who are seeking to be actors, or it's not necessarily that you are seeking to be actor or performer or perform any sort of art. It could be to discover yourself or something like that. I love that. Now, speaking of someone who is not really interested in to become an art performer or actor or whatever have you, what are the key competencies that, as a normal human being, I will evolve in attending such courses?
The key competencies is realizing that when you're in the workshop, that you may have formed certain behaviors that you are unaware of, such as not listening when you are being spoken to, by forming an answer before listening to what the person has said. So it teaches focus. It teaches not overthinking. It teaches being obvious. It teaches discomfort and working with a little bit of discomfort within oneself and figuring out things that are positive. Like, it's not so bad to stand up and to conduct a scene or be in a scene in a workshop. Actually, I am capable of things that I never thought I was before. Actually, I am able to build in space for my time or time in my life to go and do something I'm passionate about. What this workshop teaches, it's the art of connection. It's the art of focusing. It's the art of listening. It is the respect for the space of the people around us, and using all of these tools to then create a powerful scene that is authentic, that speaks from a person's heart. And when this happens, magic occurs, because a person will walk out of the workshop on day one already feeling that they have formed connection with people they've never met in a way that leads to day two, to then listening, focusing, and taking the exercises forward to day three, where you are actually able to conduct scenes with the people from day one, with your fellow attendees. But there's an authenticity, there's a realness that comes out. So it enhances skill sets. It enhances the everyday human being skill sets. And I find that through the workshops, people become sharper in their abilities to listen and to contribute meaningfully towards conversation just by listening, and character forming and bringing things onto a stage where it's not you in your own capacity, but it is you in the capacity of a character, but who has something to say. It is the pure form of expression.
So if I challenge you on this, what is the difference between improv theater and normal theater?
That improv theater, there is no script. You do not learn lines. In normal theater, you are working off a script. You know what to expect. In improv theater, you don't know what to expect, but yet you are using your senses together with the art of listening, focusing on your fellow actors, building space on the stage in order to create a scene, and a powerful one at that. Characters are formed. Characters are formed on the stage in improv theater, and it's quick moving scenes that take place. But people can enter into monologues if they assume a character and they want to express about the topic at hand. People can enter into meaningful dialogues about their day. They may assume a character that is not who they are, but they are expressing about something that may be bothering them, but it is veiled. It's behind the art of drama. It is drama and psychology and the meeting of the two in expression and self-expression. And I can say quite solidly that the attendees of our workshop have transformed to the point that they are doing something different in their day-to-day lives as a result of the workshops.
Give me a good example of that, because I see the way you're describing, you show a lot of passion. I can tell a lot of passion. I can tell from your eyes how you're passionate, how you use your hands, and to describe that scene to me, to how your graduate has transformed their lives. So before we got into this, give me one of the examples that you had observed or witnessed through your training, and especially I want someone within your experience with your touches that you have seen a life transformation after they're attending your course.
So anonymously, I can say that we have a young lady who is in the career of giving advice to scholars and to kids and so, who was struggling in her own way to express, just general expression in her own way and form. And she's gone on to create her own line of work in terms of outside of her workplace, in now counseling to kids and so outside of her workplace. This is a step that she took after the workshop. Another lady who is changing careers completely, from one to the other, that are quite opposite, polar opposites. And she said it was the step of the workshop. The workshop provided her the confidence in expressing herself to know that she was not happy in her day-to-day life in what she was doing, and that she was finding joy in what is more creative. So it opened the pathway for creativity for her, and she's creating a business out of that.
Wow.
Another lady who is training people how to act, but was not confident to get on the stage herself. She's now acting on the stage. This is what the workshop does. The reviews that we receive after the workshop are powerful. And let me be clear, Master Mo, as I am with you. As I sit here, I'm inspired by you. And as I sit and stand in my workshops, I'm inspired by those that are attending, because each of them inspire me. I get something from each and every attendee. I either recognize something that I've worked through, or I see something that I want to work towards. Because I see it almost as an exfoliation, so to speak. We know certain things about ourselves. And in our day-to-day lives, we don't give ourselves the ability or the option to be playful. And yet in the workshop, there is full permission to be playful, to be spontaneous, to be creative, and very importantly, to fail in scenes, to fail in exercises, and to make light of it. I find that that is the bridge that connects us in our everyday life. And after a workshop, there's a bridge of playfulness, and there is the ability to dig deep into oneself and realize what has been missing. From children, we are encouraged to lose spontaneity. We are encouraged not to be as creative, to go against the educational system. Whereas the founder of the ITI, which is the theatre group that we belong to, the Impro Teatro we belong to, Keith Johnston. He is a well-educated, or he was a well-educated man in the world of theatre. And yet, when he was instructing his young actors after he had graduated and was a teacher, he told them to have the rules of education of what they would do, and eventually he said, do the opposite. Do the opposite, because that's where creativity is. And this form of theatre, this form of art, is trying to encourage people to dig deep and remember who they are. Remember what it's like to be playful and mischievous and spontaneous and creative, and introduce that into your everyday life again. And there you will find some answers as to what it is that you are maybe seeking, or what is missing, or it's a puzzle piece, but everyone attends these workshops looking for something transformative, and it shows.
I like the way you're saying, adding the playful and joyful, and seemingly that we often forget that the older we grow up, the more responsibility we gather, the more we forget the element of joy in our life, and enjoy each moment and enjoy the journey of our life. Is it that something that it is reminded us of our younger selves, our upbringing? Is it linked to that? What was the psychology behind forget the rules, abandon all the rules, and do the opposite in order for creativity? I think there is a clear connection.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, there's an absolute clear connection. I think Keith Johnston and many people around him and after him and we ourselves as a theatre, our very fuel is about joy and laughter and creativity and spontaneity. And if you have to observe a child who is enjoying themselves, they're not worrying about what the world is saying when they are doing something that they love. And we introduce this in the workshops. Dance like no one's watching. Fail epically in a scene and do it again. And engage with that emotion of what it feels like to fail, because it's okay. Exfoliate, get rid of this element of I have to succeed, and remember that drive may take you away from the joyful moments of what you are doing. And in the workshops, everyone will have a chance to to be involved in the exercises, and you will see some are enjoying some more than others. This is what happens in workshops. But what you will find is that people connect differently with joy and joyful moments. And when they are encouraged to really be spontaneous and creative and not worry if they fail, the true laughter, the true sense of self is almost childlike. There's almost a childlike reminder of, this is who I am. This is what I enjoy.
Wow, that's so deep. I can relate to this because I pretty much can feel what you have just said right now. And now, speaking of this and delivering this workshop, don't you think such workshop will be also not necessarily to improve the theater performances or arts in specific, I mean in general, but don't you think in specific this could be really good as a team building activity for companies?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel that this workshop would deliver beautifully in corporates or in companies or in businesses, or where there is the association with money making or something that people do every day and go to every day to drive their lifestyle. Team building and team building formats would work very well with these type of workshops, because it is realizing who the employees or who the team are, and realizing there's things about them that they may want to bring out, but under the veil of drama. And the most important thing for team building would be connection, because that's one of our pillars of the workshops that we do, is connection with each other. And figuring certain things out, like, we'll ask basic questions and everyone will have a different answer to it. But you won't forget the answer of the person that just said it to you, because you're focusing on them. And that information will remain with you as you go further in the workshop. You will learn something new about your team, your colleagues, or those participating in the team building. And the effects of that connection will show in the workplace after. The connection is strong when a group gets to know each other outside of the guise of work, only of work. The connection becomes stronger when there's playfulness introduced. You start to learn more about your colleagues, about those that you are working with every day, in a way that's expected but also not expected. And that's where the magic is. So certainly, I think team building for corporates is a beautiful, beautiful aspect that can be introduced. Just like our workshops, our level 0 workshops, we offer as a community gift for anyone. Like I said, not for those only wanting to become actors and so. Yes, there's a road to be followed if after a workshop you are really interested in the theatre. But it is for people to come to the workshop, to express, to learn, to understand what spontaneity is, creativity, expression, and to take it forward in their lives.
In your beliefs, is there enough awareness to these companies that something like that exists, and that something can boost your employee creativity, your employee thinking outside the box? And I can tell because these kind of skills that is hidden underneath of the improv theater that can be improved. How much is the awareness of the current companies, employers?
Not enough. Not enough. So being on a podcast like this is one of the most amazing vehicles to get our name out there and to let people know what we're doing, to let the community know what we are offering. But certainly we are trying to build awareness through attendees that are coming to our workshop and through word of mouth. And just by gaining the right momentum to the right audiences too. We want to reach the community meaningfully. We want people to attend knowing what they can expect and also not having too much of an idea, because that's also where the creativity builds. So to answer your question, in podcasts such as these, in the attendees coming to the workshops and word of mouth, this is how we are getting our name out there. We also have beautiful partnerships with the Alliance Française, who is our partner for specifically our English workshops and performances, and Mashk Art, the museum. The gallery. They are our partner for the Arabic workshops, where we hold Arabic workshops at Mashk. And so through our partners, we are also building awareness on what our theatre is doing.
All right. I think I can tell the way you're telling this story and then the way you're seeing these things. I can tell how. But now I'll give you another question. I want to challenge you on this, because it's not only in Bahrain, isn't it? So if I'm not mistaken, so Keith I have a quick search about him, the founder of the Improv Theatre. And it turns out that he was a teacher, and then he was teaching the theatre, and then he moved to Canada, and then he moved to England again. And he have he works in both continent, America, and as well as Europe and England, or United Kingdom. In your perspective, is the awareness elsewhere is on the same level, or it's different story?
Different story. So in Bahrain, it is emerging. This form of theatre is emerging, and we as a theatre are pioneering it. As a theatre, we are pioneering it in Bahrain. In terms of the workshops that we offer, the exercises that we do, the formats that we are able to offer under license from the ITI, which is the institute that honors Keith Johnston and the formats that he created. But if you go to Europe, if you go to UK, Canada, America, there are many, many improv groups, which is different to improv theatres. So there's a distinction. You have improv groups that are more informal, whereas you have theatre, which is more, through the workshops, more trained in terms of delivering productions and that kind of thing. But improv outside of Bahrain is more known. Yes, it's more known. If you had to, there's certain shows that you can watch, American and Canadian ones. Whose line is it anyway? And,
So what is the distinguish, for me as someone who doesn't know, what's the distinguish between the theatre and the group? So
the improv groups is more informal in terms of the way that it is managed. I would say the way that it is managed. That the improv groups, they may do similar exercises, but the theatre coordinates formats. We do exercises through formats, which is then becomes productions. So Keith Johnston is only one of the improv founders. Yes, he was inspired himself by previous actors that were doing improvisation, acting, and so he was inspired by other groups. He created formats that are now, the custodian is the ITI of certain formats that he created that are under license now by other theatre groups around the world. And there's many of them around the world offering these formats in different languages. And, it's beautiful to see how it has transformed. But not all improv theatres and groups are under the ITI. There's many, many
different school of
thoughts about what improv is. As Impro Teatro, we are aligned with Keith Johnston's way of delivering improv. The exercises he created and the formats he created. But some of the exercises are done by improv groups all over the world.
Okay. So
it's an art that is ever growing.
Okay. So it could be a lot of similarity that both has formal and non-formal are performing almost the same, but it depends on the format one, which goes to different route, and there's a different school of thought, as you rightfully mentioned.
Yes.
I like that. Now, talk us through these exercises and a little bit of the benefit of how these exercises demonstrating the skills that you had demonstrated in the beginning of this podcast.
So without giving too much away, because we want attendees to come to our workshops, what I can say is our biggest underlying achievement in our workshops is getting attendees to disassociate their senses initially. What I mean by that is when they are speaking, their hands may be doing something else, and their minds need to be thinking the next thought. So it's about certain physical games such as clapping while saying a different word, or clicking while waiting to receive another word from the person before you, and it's about creating a space for the unexpected. So it's disassociating what your body may be expecting to what your mouth is saying, because that's what happens on stage. You don't know what's going to come from the actor around you. You may have an idea, but you actually don't know if that's what's going to happen. So you need to be able to use all of your senses together to create a unified scene. And you need to be able to create a synergy of thought between the performers on the stage. And I say performers and actors, but in a workshop, it's the attendees. So the exercises are conversation starters, holding a conversation between two people without interrupting, as an example. It's very difficult for two people to have a conversation and people to be watching, and those people not to want to interrupt the conversation. It goes back to absolute basics of listening and engaging. And you zone in on those skills of listening, focus, and contribution when you have the conversation, when you contribute to what is being said to you. And as the workshop develops, so do these skills. By the third day, you'll see the attendees don't interrupt the conversation because they have learned from day one to listen more.
Wow. That's really inspiring. But what, in your opinion, what makes the low awareness impacting companies not to do something like that? Because I am in my line of work is involve me into a lot of training and a lot of L&D and a lot of things that incorporate to do that. But I never heard improv theater or something like that could be happening, or consultants offering something like that. So in your opinion, if this is something, as you rightfully said, it's improving and there is an absolute impact, profound impact, let me put it this way, because you saying, according to you right now, in the third day, the candidate will have a huge difference. Now, my question for you is, why there is low awareness, and why the companies, we don't consider such activities to improve their team building, communication? And
I think that's part of why I'm here today, is to get the word out about what it is that we can offer as a theatre, as Impro Teatro, what workshops we can have in company that can contribute towards team building, because this is leadership at the end of the day. In improv workshops, we are teaching what it means to be led and to be a leader, to break down barriers around us as colleagues in terms of what perhaps there have been some obstacles around us as a team, and then to work together to overcome the obstacles. That's what the workshop will do. And I think it's about awareness. As we develop our skill sets in our workshop and the word of mouth is spread, we will reach the companies. We are reaching the community. We will reach the companies. And some of the attendees are certainly interested in now taking this forward to their companies as a recommendation for team builds. And through the podcast, if there's any listeners and so are interested, we can have conversations. I would always recommend that anyone that is thinking about taking this forward to their company attends one of our workshops, so they have a feel and understanding of what it is that we will be delivering.
Right. For the benefit of the guests and for the people who are listening, I would also make sure that all the links of the social media handles for that specific clubs and some websites that in contact for them, for that it's easier for them to reach out and understand the improve in a deeper level, and especially if they have something like that in mind. Now, the question is it like, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So Improv Theatre is non-profit organization. So if you would utilize these activities as a trainer, as a director of one of the Improv Theatre in Bahrain, is it that something that you would do in order to bring more sales, for example, to the community, or or is it business-wise, or it is just you want to offer it just for the sake of building that? So what's the rationale really from you wanted to promote it to the workplace?
So the theatre itself, the objective of the theatre is to be a running theatre. So for L0, which is level 0, that is a community gift that is offered to those that have never done an improv workshop with us before. When you get to level 1, and we have various levels that you can go up to, then there is a cost associated for the further levels, because there's running costs of a theatre.
Correct.
And in order to grow and in order to be sustainable, we need to be able to start charging and be a running theatre where there are costs involved. Also to host some guests coming in from other countries, some improv, stars, some voice, trainers. And so we have a big plan about who we want to bring here. And that, of course, will take sponsorship. It will take, it takes money in order to run the theatre. So
absolutely.
So certainly, as getting out of the starting blocks, we have certainly utilized our L0 as a community gift, and we will continue to do so. But as we continue to grow, yes, it'll be, it will be a vehicle to create what monies need to be made to grow the theatre to reach more people.
Interesting. That's interesting. Now, I really appreciate the confidence that you bring to the table. I really appreciate this kind of awareness, this kind of authenticity of the topic itself, because I am sure there's a lot of people doesn't even heard about this, and especially that, as you rightfully said, now you involve in the improv theater as the director in the English part. What is your thought on the Arabic part? Although you don't necessarily have to tell me what it is, but I mean, your perspective to it, what you can see. Is there a different level of engagement in Arabic and English, or the participation may be higher in Arabic and lower in English? And what is the community looks like? For example, I'm just saying, just to have an understanding of what is the community really are. Who are their community?
So our community is Arabic speaking for the most part. And that is who we are wanting to reach, as our primary objective, being a Bahraini theatre, giving back to the community. We want to get this art and the word of this art out to the Arabic-speaking community. Our English workshops and our English reach is really good, and it's something that we are proud and we celebrate. But our objective is our Arabic community, because that's where we believe that the growth is, and also where a massive impact would be, because it's so new to Bahrain. So Ahmed Khalifa, he's the founder of the theatre. He runs specifically our Arabic, workshops, and he's the director and pretty much the founder of everything to do in the theatre. He also does the English workshops and he has a vision for the theatre being bilingual. But the underlying principle here is that we do prioritize our Arabic-speaking community and get our name out there as much as possible in order to have a greater impact at length with the Arabic community within Bahrain. We also have our sister theatre, which is in Egypt, Dawar, where Ahmed currently is now, and it's in Cairo, and he's currently running workshops there. There's such a difference between Egypt and Bahrain, where we will say that if we have to offer our workshops as a community gift, there's more of a lethargic reaction, that we struggle to get the take-up for our workshops versus what we see happening in Egypt. And that's because the art is known there. We want to get to a position where the art is known here, and that there are waiting lists then for participation in our workshops. Wow. That's our objective. And for the very big reason, and the very valid reason, of the changes that occur within people. What happens, the transformation, the outcomes, the outputs in everyday life after attending these workshops. And people that attend our L0s are generally wanting to attend more and to participate more. So, yeah.
They grab the passion out of it. I can't definitely resonate with what you said. And I can tell the way... Now, my question for you, Taryn, how did you know about improv theatre?
Well, the history for me is... it's beautiful in the sense of I'm a lawyer, and prior to coming to Bahrain in 2019, I had a strong legal career in practice, as in legal practice, and then as a legal counsel, heading up the intellectual property legal division of a bank in South Africa. I came to Bahrain knowing that I wanted to explore more of my artistic personality. I'd always done acting as a pastime or as a hobby in South Africa, but I'd never fully engaged it because I was concentrating on my legal career. And when I came to Bahrain in 2019, COVID arrived. And I was with my 2 young kids.
Sorry to interrupt you. So you said you came to Bahrain in 2019 and then COVID arrived. Did you bring COVID with you? Please illustrate more. Because the way you said it, as if it was COVID in your suitcase, like COVID come around.
I can perhaps personally thank COVID because it was one of the pillar stones that encouraged me not to pursue a legal career in Bahrain.
Okay.
And to engage my young children more meaningfully and be more playful with them. And after COVID then left, and so left, the world, thank God, I was left thinking to myself, I'm really enjoying this playful interaction with my kids. And I was acting a lot with them. I was really getting to grips with the inner child within me by not having the legal career in Bahrain. And what happened is I was introduced to this art by a very good friend of mine, Lou Jane Yaqub, and her mom, Christy. And they asked me to come through to a rehearsal with Ahmed. And even though I've done scripted acting in the past, I knew what improv acting was, but I wasn't so sure about how I would take to it. And after the first rehearsal, I was blown away by what came from me personally. By my dance with my inner child, my creativity, my spontaneity, and the challenge that it presented to me through the exercises, through the expression, through the monologues, through direction of just being more me and less the lawyer. And that came with a lot of thinking about, I have all of these aspects about myself, but am I really displaying it in a way that remembers who I am? And that is what improv did for me. And so I joined it was March 2023. That's when I joined the theatre. And then I became stage manager and theatre manager in June of 2023.
That's a short time to become a director. What did you pull off in order to reach that so fast? So
a lot of time spent, a lot of learning, a lot of reading, a lot of participation in rehearsals and workshops in order for me to skill up to the point of observing Ahmed in his directing, observing also other directing from, what is available in terms of shows and so in improv. And so I went from actress, which I still am an actress, into a trainer, workshop trainer. And then I've just debuted my directing now in the recent showcase.
Interesting. Wow. So you get to know this by coincidence?
I would say nothing's by coincidence. When I start the workshops off, I always say that everyone is sitting in the chair for a reason. They may not know what it is. They may not know how they even got to the chair. I was sitting in that rehearsal for a life-changing realization about myself, which was be more playful. Engage the inner child. It's okay to fail. And get up and try again. And laugh.
Most importantly.
Laugh. Yes.
I like how they always said, no, someone with a lucrative career, and don't mind when I ask you this, because when I did my research, right, I get to know that you had been excelling tremendously in your career, your upbringing, your creativity, and you seems very passionate about law. And I believe you had a master's in law as well, isn't it? So having that, it is astonishing to tell me that you haven't seen yourself in it, yet you were excelling it, and you win one of the prestigious women awards, and you have been nominated for numerous numbers of awards as one of the leading figure, especially women, in a bank industries, and most importantly as a lawyer and IB consultant. Tell me more about that.
I think to answer that, what I'd like to say is that I like to go by a philosophy in life that many people know, and that is seasons. There's seasons that we have in our life. Law was a long season for me. Being a lawyer was a tremendously rewarding part of my life. I really was inspired by many great lawyers around me, specifically humanitarian lawyers. Professor Shadrach Guto, he was a humanitarian lawyer for international criminal acts. And I did my master's under him and his supervision.
Really?
And that within me, it was born within me to utilize whatever is at my disposal to make a difference. To make a difference either in the lives of the clients that were coming to me in practice, or to make a difference in the banking products that I was involved in protecting for the bank, but also getting out to the community. There's always been a thread within me that whatever I do, I need to be able to have a tangible output of making a difference through kindness and creativity. And law has served me so well in doing that. The law is a very powerful aspect of our community if it is utilized correctly. I have been trained, and I've trained under the most remarkable lawyers, and I've been inspired by them. And I have trained lawyers, and I know that I've inspired them. But there was always something missing for me. And that was my very creative aspect and element about myself. Even though lawyers are creative, and some of them are really good actors, but there was this missing aspect about what would make me happier. And acting is where I really do find my true joy. And so the season of law may be in winter right now in terms of being a practicing lawyer, but it doesn't mean it won't come out again. I may in time to come say I want to be go back into practice and take on that, that armor again. But for now, it's in winter, and that's okay.
When you said in winter, you reminded me of Game of Thrones, when they say winter's coming, and it was always winter and cloud and cold, and you just remind me of that right now, because it's just because you're talking about almost 17 years of experience you have put there, and it is little bit awkward or abnormal to say something like that after this huge thing. So that's what makes me curious to know, like, how did you enjoy? I understand now. You just mentioned that you had enjoyed because you find, if I put it in my words, you find the joy by helping people to utilize whatever the law you can have within your hand, and how you could put your creativity and ensure to put the best thing that's suitable for the community, the product that serves the community, and in a larger scale.
Yes.
So you find a fulfillment by making a smile into the people. You make fulfillment when you feel that you attribute or you add value. And that's one of the things you had been nominated as, driving value. You've been really strong into this. I find it strange that after this time and with such an achievement, international award achievement, yet you didn't find your true colors of passion and you decided to move to something elsewhere.
I think that in not finding, you are seeking. I was not finding something. And so my journey led me to seek more of what I was not finding. And being a successful lawyer takes a lot of components, but it can also take away certain joyful aspects about life, because the work-life balance can go a little bit out the window, especially if you're a perfectionist and you want things in a certain way. Especially in a corporate where there are parameters where you need to work to get to the next level and you need to get to the next progression. And so there I was finding discomfort. And that discomfort I kind of saw as, let me change this over into being even a better person that engages with people and adding more value to people. Because I am a people person and I can understand what a person may be feeling or experiencing. And this is where the art of improv is powerful for me, because I have the essence and the sense of seeing things and feeling things, and then helping along the way others may be seeing and feeling things too. And I found that the season of law was fantastic, and I really did enjoy what I was doing, and that's why I believe I was successful. But I also realized that I was seeking something more that it was not giving me. And I wanted to contribute to the community differently. It's different ways of contribution. And it doesn't mean I've stopped, because I still do meaningful work now, but without it being money-making or, that type of of road or fuel. I still enjoy giving my viewpoints on legal arguments, but to do it in my everyday life as it was then, no, I've exfoliated a little bit from that. I've left that behind for now. So I can concentrate on what really brings me joy, which is connecting with people outside of being a lawyer, connecting with them in expression, connecting with them in the art of letting them understand their purpose as it was with mine. Yeah.
What would be your advice that you will give to aspiring lawyers that they are willing to be? If I take you and I create this scenario for you, you've been asked from your university that you graduated from to give a speech to the lawyers, the upcoming lawyers. What would be these advices in your speech?
That you're going to fail, and don't be as hard on yourself as you would expect other people to treat you, because this is the nature of careers, the nature of professions, the nature of human beings, is that we are taught to be hard on ourselves for outcomes that probably won't happen. See yourself as being the leader of your day. Understand that there's going to be good and not so good moments. And from the not so good moments, learn to embrace them. Do a little bit of a failure dance, as I like to say, and wake up and trust that the only person that's going to overcome it is you. And as much as you need success, you need to fail. You need to fail. If you don't fail, you won't feel the benefits of the success when it happens.
Wow. I like your analogy, by the way. Let me give you this. I like your analogy and your analytical thinking into producing high-level answers, yet so concise and to the point that makes me worried to find what's the other question looks like. I really like that. And I can tell how strong your communication is, because it is always on point, concise, and give me everything that I need. It's like you give me comprehensive answer. I love that. It shows that your communication level. And I come from a similar background where we believe in the power of communication and the power of storytelling. And I see a lot of emphasis on the storytelling part, because one of the key skills that even now with the advanced technology, we would need a people who are storytellers. And I think there's a lot of it can be learned through the theater of Improv and similar platforms like I came from. So I think we touch upon your decisions into that. Now, my question for you, if I have the tool to bring back the time, to bring Taryn to 2002, 2003, 2004, where you did not do your studies as of yet, would you choose the same studies? Would you choose the same line?
Yes.
Really?
I would.
Really?
Yes. I would.
Why?
Because it's part of my identification from my culture, from being successful, from knowing what I needed to achieve in order to feel as though I was successful, for the skill sets that I acquired through being a lawyer, from base entry up until leading a team. I gained a lot of insight into humanity through being a lawyer. I also realized that success is defined differently for different people.
Correct.
People see lawyers as successful and all of these things that come, but they also don't see the other side, which may be a void. There may be something missing. Law gave me the opportunity to seize within myself all of the talents that I had, but also allowed me to see what was missing. And I've married what was missing to my life through the art and the expression and the acting. Being a lawyer has made me as concise as you say. This is the training. I trained to be a lawyer. It has made my thinking analytical, concise, to the point. But I have the additional aspects of being able to also feel and read situations in people, because I'm a people person. And so being a lawyer, I can also help people in scenarios that they may come up in their lives. Going back and choosing something different, I would be sitting here and saying, probably I would have gone that route. Maybe. But it would have made me who I am. I'm sitting here because I was a lawyer. I'm sitting here because I was a lawyer who knew that something else was needed. And acting is what I always had the desire to do. And that's what I'm doing now. But it makes me a better actress.
What about if I told you about psychology? Have you considered maybe I'm just saying a similar aspect of this psychology would be really helpful, because imagine someone with your character, with your personality, and having people mindset, and have, like you just mentioned, rightfully said, you have the people skills, and I can tell that's very easy, because if you would have to be like a psychologist or something like that, and by helping people and by providing for the people who would need or something like that, there's a lot of similarity in your character that will fit that. Have you considered, or have you done any studies in related to psychology?
Not directly, no. However, from a young age, I always felt that there was a connection to people, their feelings, what they were experiencing, and so. And so I feel that I've always had the qualities of being a healer of sorts.
Okay.
The healing capacity of sitting with someone and being able to listen and take in what I'm hearing, and then being able to provide advice, which I feel has served for the most part positively. To be a psychologist, and so it is not appealing to me to go and study, no. But I feel that I can benefit society and community by what I'm doing, by helping people express through the art of acting. Express through the art of acting, because there are almost layers that come to people with the workshops and being on stage. But people break through. They break through certain things that they are thinking by coming to our workshops and so on. Being an actress, being a lawyer, I feel that it has led me to a place of being, I wouldn't say a psychologist, but being someone that is receptive to listen and to hear and to give advice.
I love how you put it, but I'm more interested to know, what was your purpose in life? What was your real aim that you wanted to do? Because clearly I can tell that you're kind of a person who tests things, and you don't give up easy. And also at the same time, like I said in the beginning, or after a little bit of introduction, that you've grown so much and you reach a position to be one of the thought leader into this. So you have not excelled just like a normal lawyer. You excelled to another level. That is crazy. It seems very crazy to live that job. I imagine, before I ask my question, what was your feeling when you come to realize that it's come to an end and you have to move from that career? How is that emotion?
I feel that feeling was coming to me quite a while before I made the decision. But life lined it up for me perfectly. I had a wonderful mentor who was my boss in the corporate that I was working in. And we would have one-on-one sessions where he would call the name of the sessions Breaking Barriers. That was the name of the session. And in our conversations, what was coming through quite clearly is, okay, so Taryn, you may be dealing with anxiety in specific case that we're dealing with. But how are you going to use this to create a positive outcome? How are you going to use part of who you are to make a difference in the case? And through those conversations that I had with him, I started to realize that I can use a lot of what I feel is not so positive about myself to flip it around and to have meaningful discussions to have a positive outcome. By people realizing that they're struggling with something and turning that into something positive. And that's been most of my conversations with people. They will generally tell me what is happening with them, and I will start giving advice that comes somewhat naturally. Now, it wasn't easy to let go of the legal profession because I had done so many years in building up to it and so.
Exactly.
But it was a natural progression for me because I know and I knew innately within myself that the time was coming to contribute towards community and society differently. Not to be bound by corporate rules and cases and, clients. And so there was a change that was coming, and life presented it. And what is for you will not miss you. what is for you will not miss you. You can't avoid. And I knew the change was coming. And I also had the desire to do acting. I had the desire to do acting even before when I was in school. But I knew that I needed to choose a profession that would also match making a difference in society and community. And I loved law. So,
It's correlated. It's very much correlated to what you're saying. And there's no doubt how passionate are you in it. And yet, I would like to extract that what makes it like the thinking of living itself, the thinking of being paid at certain level, being lived in certain lifestyle, being aware of your surroundings and the lifestyle that's upcoming with this position. I find it's very difficult to let that away and think of gonna do acting. It's not necessarily paid. It's all about giving back. So even if I thought about it, you said, even when you excel at the career of lawyer, you will keep on saying direct hidden messages that I always try to use the law to give the benefit for the people. So all your life, it's always like, if I'll sum up, it's always about giving back to someone, using the laws, using the keys to enter the laws, and then to use the product and use the essence and using what is there for the people. Why it is so important for you to think about for the people and not for you?
I think that it comes from an innate feeling within myself about what it means to be connected to God. It means about how does that translate into the everyday life that we have. And when you have such strong faith and faith over fear, you will start delivering messages through your actions. And when you are passionate about something, things will happen that will take care of all of those things that you are thinking about. The concerns it's not giving up of a lifestyle, it's choosing something different. And I think that's where the terminology needs to, alter. It's not giving up the position or the car or the lifestyle. It's about choosing what is the difference in not having it. What will that give me? And how will I be able to use that to inspire further? Because a lot of these things that I've realized, the material world, it can only provide so much. But when you have a desire to do something where your passion is met with talent, things will naturally progress. You will be supported. You will be supported. And the message that I give to people, even in the workshops, it's faith over fear. If you have a fear of standing up and speaking to people, if you have the faith within yourself, and you have the ability to know that you're going to fail in this specific moment, you're going to get up and do it, and you're going to fail and you're going to do it again, and you're going to prove to yourself you can do it. And similar to giving up what that life was, I gained a whole lot more about myself and being able to be freed up to have more meaningful interactions with people in workshops and people in life. It's not just related for me personally to workshops and acting. This is a community that I create by meeting people. Similar to you, people person. You inspire community by what you're doing.
Thank you.
You inspire community by what inspires you, and then it reaches the other people by you bringing the light to it so other people can see. You're a people person. You're a value-orientated person. And this is what builds. The connections build. The focus builds. The ability to hear and to be heard. It builds. The podcast, it builds. And it reaches who it needs to. That's the one thing I've realized, is that my actions and whatever I choose to do today will be seen by who it needs to be seen by. And I don't worry about the rest.
Wow. To give that, it is really hard taking from my perspective, honestly, because it is so deep. It is so deep and so true at the same time. I love your analogy to this because the correlation you are making is significant. I love it to an extent. I really enjoy discussion with you because it was a fascinating mix to understand your persona and to understand your perspective in life and to understand this difficult decision. It's the same decision when you decided to move from your country, to move to a country that you're not familiar with, to move to a country that does not have the same culture, that doesn't have the same weather, doesn't have the same people, doesn't have the same system. It's almost the same, but also, like I said, the only thing which it was for me to hardly to understand, when I saw that you've been reached a huge level in corporate, not a normal level. It's not like you've been a normal lawyer and then you move country. There is a meaning for it. And to let go all of these things and start all of things by passion and by removing these materialistics and layers of things. I want to talk about, since we went so deep in that, I wouldn't expect that. I was expect, but not that level. Tell me about your childhood and what makes you decide to like the beginning, the upbringing for childhood. I want to know more about it.
So my heritage is Lebanese.
Really?
Yes, but I'm third generation in South Africa. So my ancestors went to South Africa for better opportunity, and they landed in South Africa. They were actually on their way to South America, but they got off at South Africa. They got off the boat at South Africa. Sadly, I cannot speak Arabic because this was not allowed at that time when my ancestors were in South Africa. But there's a very strong Lebanese community in South Africa, about 33,000 people. And I was brought up with the cultural values of being a young Lebanese girl in South Africa, doing dabki and,
Why is it? Because, sorry, I'm very, very sorry to interrupt you.
Not at all.
Is it because the way you look? Is it because your skin color? Is it because you were so unique in comparison with the rest? What it is because? What is it?
It was so, I'm the youngest of 4 kids in my family, and we're part of a greater community that form part of the Lebanese community in South Africa. And because my ancestors had left Lebanon, they formed a very strong bond with the community, Lebanese community in South Africa. But they kept the cultural norms as much as they could by the food and the dancing and the traditions, and so the Lebanese traditions. So I'm South African, but with Lebanese heritage. And so my upbringing was youngest of 4 kids, quite traditional family, close-knit parents, and greater community, aunts and uncles and cousins, and, family lunches every Sunday, and, very much everyone's involved in each other's lives. And so that's very familiar as a Lebanese family in South Africa. But from a young age, I always knew that I wanted to do things a little bit differently as a growing girl in the community. I didn't want to just become something that was expected, to perhaps get married and have kids at a younger age. And so I had this desire to do things independently. And my parents were supportive of that. They were supportive of that. So I chose to become a lawyer. When I was still in school, I chose to become a lawyer. That's what I wanted to do. But a lot of what my choices were based on was based on my wanting to make sure that I would be a strong South African girl with a Lebanese heritage, but standing for myself and making a difference. But my community at large, the Lebanese community at large, are very generous, kind, loving people in South Africa. And I had one objective, long and big objective in my life, and that was always to make my dad proud. And because we had a relationship, he's passed away, but we had a relationship that was without words even, we just had a soul connection. And my dad, he would look at me as being this young girl, Lebanese girl in South Africa, growing up, doing things differently, where he would struggle to understand because, you get to a certain age and you should get married and girls should be doing, housework and not so much concerned with careers. But I was at the cusp of changes in that generation. And I felt my dad was accepting of that. And he was very proud, exceptionally proud of my achievements, exceptionally proud. But he also knew that I loved acting and expressing. And I think if there's anything that my parents have given me and what I choose to give to my kids together with my husband is the ability to know what is happiness, like what makes me happy and what doesn't, and how to find that within. And that's a journey that I'm on. I'm still navigating that. But with my kids, I'm trying to make sure that I don't put my objective onto them of what I want them to do. I want them to figure it out for themselves, and I want them to be fully grounded in their decisions in life. I want them to be able to know what they want to do and how they're going to do it.
I heard that South Africa is one of the destinations they really, really value arts. Is it?
Yes.
So, if that was the case, why was your contribution back then wasn't as strong as it is right now? So, if you take curveball back in the day and you choose to do acting from the beginning, I would imagine you would be in different position today.
I think that goes back to my own childhood, my own objectives, where choosing a career to be an actress was not as acceptable as being a lawyer. You know, in terms of the prestige that comes with the label of lawyer over actress, because it's not a well-paid job. It's a difficult profession at that time. And still now, actresses are not a best-paying, profession. And I think it was a combination of knowing that I wanted to be independent and be able to provide for myself, but also make my parents proud. There was like this interplay. It was quite a interesting circle. Make them proud, but still honor the heritage, marriage, kids, but do something that makes you happy. But certainly acting at that time was not something I would have chosen as a career, because I don't think it would have afforded me the ability to feel that I would have been able to progress. I knew what I wanted to do as a lawyer. I had the strong idea of this is what I wanted, and I wanted the degree, I wanted the master's, I wanted to contribute, I wanted to, it's part of who I was or I am.
Yeah, I can tell, and I love the way you put it through. Actually, Taryn, I like the terminology that you had used. And if I would ask you this, since you said there is a difference in the way reception of the different career, and there is different culture that's place, that's really difficult actually to formulate a question, because you are third generation from Lebanon, and you're not, but you were born and raised in South Africa. So proud is by definition, everybody has a different concept, different understanding. Now my question is, maybe your father would see you seeing something you love and being happy, and just seeing the smile in your cheek, that will make his day. But maybe your mom wouldn't really approve that by saying that you're gonna waste your time being actress or something like that. So how did you manage to conflict both your parents into the career that you think will make them proud? So proud, maybe I'm just assuming, if your past dad, my God, bless him, and if your dad is ultimate goal is to see Taryn laughing and happy and have the joyful in her eyes or in her face, but the mom is considering, no, I want my girl to be strong, represented me, it's my blood, and I wanted her to be strong as a lawyer and reach where you have. So how would you manage that, and what makes you think that this is the right thing in order to let them proud? Because when you say proud, it doesn't necessarily has the same meaning that you will translate it between your father and mother, and especially that you don't come from, you have a mixed culture.
Yes.
There's a mixed culture for your upbringing.
Yes. I think that when I think of the word proud over here, what I think about is it's a feeling, isn't it? Because proud and pride means different things to different people. And being a descendant of, a culture, a third generation, there's fears that come with the selection of a profession that may not see you in a better position in terms of how you can support yourself. And so every parent wants their kid to be happy, and I'm talking generally, but they have conditions in place. And those conditions are based on their fears. The conditions are based on the fears. So my parents would want me to be happy, absolutely, on condition that whatever I'm doing on a day-to-day basis would be able to sustain me. So there's this reconciliation that happens with people in terms of, I want you to be happy, but you must be able to do 1,
Certain
2, and
thing.
3, certain things. And I feel that it's such a gift for our generation today that's raising young kids to be able to say and to be able to kind of observe, what does this word happy mean for our kids? Because the systems of school are still quite structured, but there's also this flow that's coming in that's unstructured. And I think if we can lean into who we are by heritage, by our descendants, by our conditioning, and we can look at our kids and say, this is what you know and what we know, but what are you going to be? And how can we support you in being that? That's where we can break some of these bonds. Because yes, my mom, as an example, would want me to be a lawyer, because that for her would mean that, being able to sustain myself would be more important than what the happy face is. Because my dad wanted me to be happy. I maybe have a happy face, but if I'm not sustaining myself, well, I'm not going to have the happy face.
Yeah.
So it's about this reconciliation. But I feel that in the world that we are in today, there is such a desire for people to understand what is joy, what brings me joy, what brings me happiness. A lot of the time, it's actually quite basic. It goes down to an equation. Talent is a very important aspect, and passion will bring happiness if you direct it in the right way. So if you're talented at something and you are passionate about something and you are navigated with love and care and compassion and you are nurtured in this way, it will equal the desired result there, the happy result. Someone may be talented at something, but they may not be passionate. And if their parents force them, it may result in an unhappy person. So it's about, if I could have the conversation with my parents when I was younger, I'd probably be having this conversation with them. And I choose to take it forward with the generations that I can influence now, being the younger generation of, you talented, do you enjoy it? And if you do, what results are you going to get from it? So it is a reconciliation of culture, of lifestyle, of all of these things that bring us together. As nurturing is very important. It's a very important aspect of who we are. And we can't discourage ourselves from being separate from our parents either, because they are a big part of who we are.
Exactly, yeah. There's a lot of things that it help you to upbringing. It's because of your parents, and I totally resonate and I agree fully with you. And the reason why I ask you this, because I just want to understand your rationality and your options back in the day, and I understand now much better, and also to have a greater understanding of it. Now, I have a question related not to the theater, not related to actually it's related to both theater and lawyer, and that's something I felt, and I want to share this with you. So one of the things that let me pursue my human resource, and normally why did I decided to pursue something with the human resource? Because I have a greater sense of, just like you mentioned, a people skill. So in my understanding, because if I would be really good people skill, that's the element that I need to work in HR, and understanding the rules and like the rules, regulations, and all of that compliances, that will help me to be excel, since I just need to have formal education to it. And then my skills will allow me to excel in the career ladder. And that's what I projected. But really, back in time, I was just thinking, who's the right person to ask? Because if it happens that I see someone within the career I'm aspiring to be in, I will exactly understand your point by seeing the other things that you did not know unless you practice it. And you did practice it, Taryn, to extreme level. Like I said, maybe this is the 5th time I'm saying this, that you reached a high position. So you really feel the high and you really feel the low as well in that career. And the same thing you have done with the acting. You feel the high and you feel the low. Same with rewards. You feel the high where you were paid as pretty much high, and you're tasked to do such and reach parameters, and how you were focused. And just like you mentioned, I love you said as a perfectionist, because I can tell how passionate you are in whatever your hands land in. You want to craft something represent you, and there is a strong essence of your upbringing, your culture, your identity that will play a crucial part into this. This is very obvious. From just by you explaining your life cycle, your little bit of journey, touch upon the things that you're interested in. It is very it's very noticeable that I can see these things. So if you were to have a award to the community about the things that they don't know about, what that word will look like?
An award.
Award, like for example, like not award, like not like a speech, but I mean, what are the things that you want to convey to them? The things that really value that's the essence of how you felt throughout this career, the mixture that you had gone through, lawyers and acting and modeling and.
I think that, I have chosen certain things in my life because of nurturing, because of my upbringing, because of what I've seen. And I've also chosen certain things in my life now because of trust and because of faith and because of certain opportunities that came my way. What I would want to say to people is be aware when opportunity is knocking. Like, listen to when there could be a change coming up for you. Because people are stuck in the mindset of, I've chosen this and this is what I have to do until forever. And yet the world and universe and God provides some information and some clues that maybe it's time to rethink certain things. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be life-changing and so, but listen with the sense that is not your five senses. Listen with what is coming to you through messages from your spouse or from your family or from what you are watching. There could be changes that are needed for you to become the next version of you that can provide some happiness, some joy, some freedom within yourself. Because I think people are very much locked within themselves. They're locked up and chained to what their career choice was, and they don't have the faith within themselves to know that if they have to just pursue something a little bit that they're interested in, it could take them on a journey elsewhere. So don't be afraid to listen to the voice that may be saying, look at something differently or try something different. I think that there's altogether it is there, but people are not listening.
What a way to conclude this manufactured episode. So it is all about listening, and it's really, if I think about it, ladies and gentlemen, it will come to my attention that how brilliant creativity and thought person Taryn is by concluding her way of showing us the importance of listening and have awareness of our six senses, or 7 or 8, because according to her there's 6, 7 and 8, and if I let her talk, maybe she'll reach 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 and God knows how many senses that she will allow me, maybe because this is something that the arts has brought, and I value the arts and I value time. One of the things I want to value is this conversation, Taryn. I love the conversation. I love your vulnerability. You're speaking of your vulnerability and you're speaking of your journey, and how interesting that you're telling very things about yourself in very beautiful words and very meaningful messages and wisdom to the community or the listeners that listening from that. I'm just curious about one thing just before we end this podcast. I want to ask you about Bahrain. Since you moved and you changed, you moved countries to Bahrain, what could you tell me about Bahrain?
Bahrain is a country where the definition of neutrality is felt. It is neutral to the choices and responses that people have within themselves. And I value Bahrain for being able to demonstrate passion for things, but within a respectful manner. There is an aspect of acceptance within the people and amongst the people of all nations, of all nationalities and cultures. And I find that it is a Switzerland of the Middle East. I find that there is such a compassion that is felt amongst the community here. And for such a small island, it demonstrates what humanity should be about. Honestly, it's been a beautiful experience here. My husband and I have truly enjoyed it. And if it wasn't for the opportunity that he had, I wouldn't be here. So I'm very thankful to this island for shining the light on something that I'm very passionate about in reconciling safety and security mechanisms that South Africa is unfortunately not experiencing right now, but I felt it within Bahrain, and the ease of the conversation and dialogue with the people. And, you said earlier that it's, to go to another country with different people and culture and all of these things, but people are people. But sometimes you just connect with the place because of the people. And that's what Bahrain has been for me. So I'm very inspired by the Kingdom of Bahrain. I'm very inspired by the people. I'm inspired by people that I meet, such as you, Master Mo.
Interesting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to challenge yourself, improve your communication, and improve your ability to think outside the box, creativity, and bringing the best out of your personality, I'll ensure to link all the social media, all the links that is very important for you to know and to test yourself out. Taryn, you did a marvelous job today by explaining the history of Improv and by sharing your experiences as a successful director of Improv Theater here in Bahrain, and also as one of the elite businesswomen that had been nominated for numerous awards. Thank you so much for coming in today. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is the first time you're watching this episode or this channel, ensure to subscribe, hit the like button, and my promise to you is the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the Arab skill, the system, the production. And I know that I said this year gonna be a different, and I really mean a different. Taryn, thank you again for your time. Any last word you want to say to the audience?
I just want to say that it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to speak at your podcast, Master Mo. Having met you, I identified very fast within you that you are a wonderful speaker, that you are able to convey what you are feeling, and also by listening to what people are saying. It's a skill set that is felt immediately. What this podcast is doing, I think, is essential for the community and bringing forward trains of thought and the nature of things and what to expect and what is happening that people don't expect. I think it is of absolute value. So please continue your hard work, and thank you for all that you are doing.
Thank you so much, Taryn. It's been a pleasure having you, and till next time, take care and see you soon. Bye for now.